Hi friends, this is Crystal at Charming Cheek, and I'm coming to you with another tutorial. And this time I'm just the voice behind the computer screen, but I'm so excited to share with you the solution to the question I get very often, which is how do I upload a PDF pattern into Cricut Design Space? I'm very thankful that Lindsay at Lynn's Handmade has granted me permission to share with you one of the pages from her Bend and Snap Clutch pattern. This is available for purchase at lynshandmade.com. I'll have a link in the description box and it will take you right over there so that you can purchase this. She has, as for all of her patterns, very in-depth tutorials on how to actually sew and make this project at her YouTube channel, and I'll have a link to that as well. If you stick with me until the very end of this video, I'll have a bonus content which will show you how to join, the pages that have these arrows. This is just my own squares. This is not the actual pattern page. One of the pages in this pattern does require that you join the two pieces with the arrows, and so I'll go over that and show you how to do it. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is we need to convert one page at a time to a single page PDF. We're going to be uploading each of these pages into the PDF converter through Adobe Acrobat, and I'll have a link to that in the description. But you can't upload a multi-page document and then have it converted. And so this particular pattern, this is the Bend and Snap clutch from Lynn's Handmade Design, and it has 5 pages of pattern pieces to cut out. So we're going to do them one at a time. I'm going to come over here and choose print, and then I'm choosing Microsoft Print to PDF. You may have another PDF converter such as Cute PDF or something of that nature. Whichever one you have, you'll want to use that. So I don't want to choose all pages. I want to choose current page only and choose print. It's going to ask me where I want to save it, and so I'm going to come here to my folder. I'm going to make this larger so you can see where I'm at. I want to be in the bag patterns folder that I have selected, and I have one set up for Bend and Snap. Now, because I'm going to be doing this multiple times, I'm going to add this to my quick access by choosing right click when hovering over quick access and then pin current folder to quick access. Now each of my pages will be here, saved here. So I'm going to say Bend and Snap. Just name it something basic. It really doesn't matter. You could even name it page 3 or 4, 4 or 4, whatever. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and convert it. Okay, now that you have your single page PDF ready to convert, we actually need to convert it. You'll be doing that in the document cloud from Adobe. And I have a link to this again in the description box. The first 2 times you do it, it lets you do it for free. And then after that, you have to set up a free account. And so that's what I've done here. And so when you come in, it will land here with this tab selected. And instead you want to choose Tools. And then PDF to JPEG. And the reason why I recommend this PDF to JPEG is because it is not transparent. PNG files are transparent, and that can cause some problems for us when we're trying to convert these and upload them into Cricut Design Space. And so in my opinion, JPEG is a better format. So let's go ahead and choose that. Wants us to know which file we want to use. We're going to add a file from our device. We're going to go right back to that quick access folder that we had set up and choose the file that we saved. Our image quality we want to have as high, and then go ahead and convert to JPEG. Okay, our file is ready, and we want to download it. It's now in our download folder, and so we could click here to get to it, or we can go to our file library. And now I need to extract it. So I'm going to right click on here and choose Extract All. And it's already in the download folder, but I want it somewhere else. I want to save it to that file that we've set up, Bend and Snap. select folder, and then extract. Now it pops up, and now it shows us that we have this JPEG file. It adds the 1024 one, the end, and we don't need that, so let's go ahead and delete that. It has dotted lines. Let's go ahead and open this really quick and take a look at it. So these are the dotted lines that indicate in the pattern that we need to cut this out. But this will cause problems for us if we try to upload this into Cricut Design Space without making these dashed lines into a solid line. I'm going to demonstrate that for you next so you can see what that looks like. Okay, the best way I can demonstrate the next kind of obstacle to overcome is to walk you through it, and that's the problem of dashed lines. And so we're going to go ahead and choose upload and upload image, browse to find the file, and we've already created this JPEG in the last step, so we're going to double click to choose it. I'm going to choose moderately complex and continue. And then this is where we come into that magic eraser area where we remove the areas that we don't want to have cut. And so for this one, if I click here, this is great. It gives me just this background here, and if I were to choose preview, it would show me that each of these pieces are going to cut out just fine into the squares and rectangles that they are. But what it doesn't do is give me this cutout for this window here, and that's why we have a Cricut, is so that it will do this for us. If I were to click my magic eraser wand in the center of this, it's going to turn this entire shape transparent rather than just the center, and each of these lines will be in fact individual dashes that are cut with your Cricut rather than a full single cut. So if I choose preview, you can see that it's going to cut these as individual dashes, and that won't work. So in the next step, I'm going to show you how we're going to fix that. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of those dashed lines. So I'm going to insert a picture. This will be the JPEG that Adobe created for us, and choose insert. I'm going to make this larger, and I'm not worrying about resizing because we have the size measurements right on each of the images. And instead I'm going to choose crop so that I'm only working on one pattern piece at a time. I'm going to crop this down by dragging these handles just to this ID window. Scrolling down to get to the second corner. And there we go. And then now choosing crop. I'm doing this in Publisher, but you can do this in any kind of photo editing software that you prefer. I'm going to hold down my Control key and use the roller bar on my mouse to zoom in so that you can see this more clearly. And now I need to insert a square. So I'm going to insert shapes and choosing the square. And I'm using my left button on my mouse and pulling diagonally and releasing when I get to the proper size. Now, the ID window gives us the measurement of this entire exterior piece, but it doesn't give us the dimension of this cutout. If it did, we would enter it here, or we could alternatively print this out and then measure it ourselves and then enter the dimensions here. But instead, I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it and get this to cover it. I'm going to actually change this shape fill to white. There we go. Okay, so I want to select all objects, and then I want to choose group. I want to right click and save as picture. I want to change my resolution, if you have this option, to use high quality, because it will make your cutout better quality. And choose OK. And then I'm going to say that I want this to be a JPEG, and I want this to be window. Ready. And choose save. Here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we're now ready to upload that JPEG that we just created. So we're going to choose upload, upload image, browse. We renamed it Cricut Ready, and we know that it's just this ID window, so I'm going to double click. I want to choose Moderately Complex and continue. And then now we need to remove the areas that we want to have cut out. If we preview it just like this, it comes in as a giant rectangle. That's not what we want. So we're going to click here, and if we preview, it shows us a smaller rectangle, but still not what we want. So I'm going to click in the center area and choose preview, and this is what we want. And I'm going to just zoom in here so you can see it. We want this to cut out just the interior here and the exterior, leaving us a clear margin. We're going to choose continue. We could choose it as a cut image only, but I want to be able to see this information when I upload it into my mat. A lot of times it will tell us how many pieces to cut, which material to use, and what have you. And so I want to save this as a print then cut image. We won't actually be printing it and cutting it, but we do want to retain this information. So I'm going to remove this Cricut Ready because I know it's just the window, and then I'm going to choose Upload. Okay, let's work through the rest of those pattern pieces on that page. So I'm going to choose Upload, Upload Image, Browse, and I want to go to the full page here. So I'm going to select it, choose Open, Moderately Complex, and Continue. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, and now I want to choose the crop. And I only want to do this piece now. Okay, perfect. I want to revert back to my wand, and I want to choose this here, and then preview. Perfect, that gives us the shape that we want. I want to choose continue, print and cut again, and we're going to call this clear vinyl window, just to match this here. The reason why I use the LHD BNS in the file name is so that I can tell which shape it is later when I'm going to upload my individual pieces. I'm going to choose Upload and continue with the rest. So Upload Image again, Browse, the file that has all of the shapes, Moderately Complex, Continue, zoom out a little bit, crop, using my left button on my mouse to drag diagonally, releasing when I have the right size, choosing the wand, clicking on the outside, preview, just to make sure it's good, hide preview, and now this guy has this little hole here that it wants us to cut out, so I'm clicking on there, preview, and I'm going to zoom in, and I think that this actually would work better if we did this inside of the canvas, so I'm going to go over that in the next step, but we can leave it as this for right now. It's no problem. So now we want to choose continue, print and cut, rename this to the snap closure. Back to Upload, Browse, and this time I'm going to crop the carrying handle. Now, if these file pieces did not include the measurements on each and every file piece, we would have to do one of two things. Either leave that 1 inch test square in, or print it out manually, use a ruler on our physical copy, measure it, and then make a notation so that we could enter that when we put this into the Design Space canvas. But because each of these measurements are included, we can skip that step. Print and cut. Upload. Okay, and now each of our pieces are ready to put into Design Space. So the reason why I told you that I use that naming format is when I click here, this will give me the name of the file. So I automatically know that it's a Lynn's Handmade Design file. The bend and snap I know is abbreviated as B and S, and then a carrying handle. So I want to go ahead and insert each of these images. Okay, it's going to bring them all in together. We can just move them aside. Okay, and now I'm going to zoom in. We want to change this to be 4 1/4 by 3 inches high. So we're going to come in here to our width box. We're going to click on the lock proportions so that we can enter separate dimensions here. We're going to say our width is 4.25 and our height is 3. We want to do this for each of our shapes. So right here, click this lock aspect ratio. We want this to be 8.25 wide and 1.25 high. Perfect. Okay. This also tells us that this needs to be cork and leather and this needs to be cork and leather. And so I want to now refer back to my pattern instructions, and if my pattern instructions tell me that I need 2 of these, then I would select this and I would choose duplicate so that I would have 2 of them. And I select them both, and I want to instead, now this is where we come in and we don't want to do the print and cut. We want to change this to be basic, and then I might use my color sorting to be yellow for cork and vinyl. This one is also cork and vinyl, so I would choose basic for this, and then yellow. The snap closure, let's go ahead and fix that little circle. So this one is, make this bigger so we can see it. Move this off to the side. Okay, so this says that it's 5.5 by 5/8 inch high. The measurement like 5/8 inches, some people may not know how to convert that into a decimal, which is used in Cricut Design Space, so let's go ahead and use Google to convert that. I'm going to just simply convert 5/8 to decimal. And it tells us that it's 0.625. I'm going to go back to Cricut. And I need to select this proportion lock first, 0.625. And then our width is 5.5. Okay, now we have it. Now we need to, I'm going to zoom in again by holding down my control button and using my roller bar on my mouse. We need to insert a circle here for a nice clean cut for this tab snap opening. Just going to resize it until I think it's about right. Needs to be a bit bigger. And that looks good to me. I want to make sure that these are aligned, so I'm going to select both of these objects and then I'm going to align vertically. Perfect. That's good enough. Now we're going to select both of these objects here and we're going to choose slice. It's going to move this one here, and now we have a nice clean cutout for this piece. I'm going to delete this and delete this. And you can see that wonky shape there. That's what would have cut out if we had not taken the time to insert the circle. I'm going to delete this as well. And so now when it cuts out, it's going to give us a nice circle here. I'm going to choose basic. And we would want to refer to our pattern instructions to tell us what kind of material this is going to be. If it were cotton, just saying that it was, let's choose basic and then choose a different color for cotton, which would be pink. And then this would print out in a different matte for us. I know for sure that this clear vinyl window is being cut out of clear vinyl rather than regular cork or sewing vinyl. Let's go ahead and change these measurements. And let's go ahead and choose this as basic and make this color white. You're going to want to go ahead and continue each of these steps for all of the pages in your PDF pattern, color sorting them and duplicating them per the pattern instructions, and then when you're ready to cut it out, you choose Make It, and then proceed through by selecting your material types. A couple more things I want to talk to you about before we go is this panel over here. This is showing us, if we get confused as to which color we used for what, this shows us a slice result, and unfortunately it has taken away the name of the snap closure because it's now changed it as slice result. But in these other ones, it does tell us the name of the pattern piece, so we know that this is the bend and snap carrying handle, this is the ID window, and this is the clear vinyl window. We can also come in here to color sync, and we can see that we have 3 pieces that are going to print out on one mat, or cut out rather onto one mat, and so this would be like our cork vinyl mat, this would be our clear vinyl mat, and this would be our cotton mat. This may be helpful to you as you go ahead. So once you've done all of this work and you've sorted it and you've color coded it and you're ready to go, you want to save this project so that you don't have to go through all of this work again. So you want to choose Save, and you want to call this LHD Bend and Snap, and choose Save. And then each time that you want to save this, you would then open this file rather than importing each of the shapes into your mat again, and then you'll have this ready to go, and it'll be much easier to cut out on the next time you want to go and make this project. This is the welcome screen that I get in Cricut Design Space, and as I promised, this bend and snap is saved and ready for us to make. So I want to insert those mock pattern pieces that I have come up with, and I'm going to choose Customize rather than Make It. It's going to load in all those pieces that we spent time perfecting, and now I need to insert these 2 pieces here. So in order to select more than one image at a time, I'm just holding down my Control key and clicking them both, and then hitting Insert Images. Okay, I am going to move these guys down lower so that you can see them clearly. And in case you didn't know, it doesn't matter where you have them on your canvas, the program will automatically sort them and put them in order on your mat. And so let's zoom in. We really don't care about the rest of the pattern piece. We only want to make sure that these diamonds are attached and that they're overlapping each other perfectly. What I would recommend doing is dragging your mouse over both of these items so that they're selected. In this case, it appears that the diamonds are at the dead center of each of the pages, or each of the pieces rather, and so we can say align and then center vertically, and then they'll be joined perfectly. I'm going to zoom in here, and I can see that there's still a gap and that I need to move this over. So I have it selected, the piece B is selected, and I'm just going to use my arrows, and I moved it over, but that's too much, so I'm going to have to use my mouse just until they're kissing. Perfect. And that looks great. I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to select these both again, and I'm going to make sure that they're aligned vertically still, just because sometimes you can nudge it with your mouse unintentionally. And now I'm going to choose Weld. And now that makes it one full, complete piece. Unfortunately, again, it does take out all of those words and instructions, and so this is something that you would want to refer back to your pattern piece so that you would know how many to cut and in what material choice. And that's it. That's basically all you need to know about welding the 2-part pieces together. Some patterns that you use will have 3 and 4 parts, but those likely won't fit on your mat. You are limited in size to 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches if you use a 12 by 12 mat, and 11.5 by 23.5 if you're using a 12 by 24 mat. So chances are, if it's asking you to blend more than two pieces together, you won't be able to cut it out on your Cricut. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. If you have questions or comments, if I went too fast on something, or if I skipped an explanation that would have helped you to understand better, please let me know and I will respond to your comment just as soon as I see it. Thanks so much. I'll see you all soon.